Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. I'm so glad you're here with me today because I'm making some beautiful Christmas ornaments that are all song inspired. I'm first going to be making these little buffalo check tags that use the back of some Dollar Tree calendars and embellishing them with some really cute Christmas greens to be really fun ornaments. I'm also painting some beads and I'm going to be stringing them together with these rusted jingle bells. I really love how these turn out. I'm also taking my first try at making some paper stars just by folding some paper. I also make some out of book pages and then I embellish it with some really fun glitter. After that, I'm taking some pieces of my trusty fencing wire and I'm stringing some beads that are painted in different colors and are different sizes to make some really fun snowflakes. I also have some beautiful napkins that I thought would be fun to make an ornament out of using some Mod Podge. These turn out really fun and sparkly. I'm excited for you to see them. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. If you like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up, but let's go make some DIYs. It is not really a secret that a lot of us crafters love to use calendar pages for DIYs. So I'm just taking some calendars that I have in my stash or that I have used. One of them was from last year, one is from this year, and then this one I'm looking at right now is actually next year's that I found in Dollar Tree, and I found them in a few different Dollar Trees all in the last couple of weeks, so start looking for those if you haven't already. On the back of these calendar pages, they have a little teeny square of the different months, so you can kind of get a preview of what pages are in there before you buy the calendar, and a lot of calendars do this, not just Dollar Tree calendars. So you might already have some of these in the stash. Now I'm just showing you that on Dollar Tree, I really wish that that bigger square was a Christmas one that they put there. Every year I look at that and think, dang it, they have some fun ones there, but I just wish they were Christmas ones. I'm just going to be using the December one, and I'm just going to do 3 of these just to kind of give you an idea, because you may not have all 3 of these calendars, but you might have one of them, or just to give you an idea to use for some different calendars that you might have. And these are just some wooden tags I picked up at my craft store, and I have just a sheet of craft paper, and I'm going to use my trusty Elmer's school glue here. I love this purple school glue. I found a bunch of it on sale at Walmart for 25 cents for these big sticks last week. So check your clearance section now that the back to school rush is over and you're starting to see those things really marked down. So I just put the glue on the front of all of the wood tags, and then I just put them down with that glue face down on the back part of the scrapbook paper. You can see how I am doing that here. I do my best to line it up to the straight edge of the paper. Since it is a plaid that I'm working with and there are straight lines and straight angles, you want to make sure you get it as straight as possible so it's not totally crooked on your tag. And then I'm just going to cut each of these out, cutting very close to the edge of the wooden tag, but I am going to be sanding them so it doesn't need to be exact. Now these are just rectangle tags, and traditional tag shape like a package tag would be darling as well. So use what you have. Even a circular shape would work for this. Anything that you've got. You could even use some cardboard to do this with if you would like to. If you don't have wood, cut some squares or rectangles out of cardboard and you're good to go. Now I'm just using my emery board to gently file down the scrapbook edge there to give it a nice clean look. I then use my Elmer school glue to place down each of the squares on the tag. Now I don't want them completely centered from top to bottom. From side to side I do, and I'm measuring them compared to the other one that I made so I can get them as centered as possible in comparison to each other. I want to leave a little bit of a bigger space at the top because I'm going to go in with some greenery and I'm going to embellish it, so I want you to still be able to see that design. So you can see kind of how I place those here. I kind of use just a measure of like one square, like one row of squares and a half from the bottom up, and that left you about 2 and a little bit more of full rows at the top that you can cover up with embellishment. Now the raw edge I didn't love with how it was looking, so I just took some paint and I painted around the edge of my first one. This was a painstaking process. I did not love this right here, and I thought there's got to be an easier way, and then it occurred to me I have a black ink pad. So if you want to paint around the edge because you don't have a black ink pad, go for it. Use like a sponge tool instead. But if you have a black ink pad, I picked this up. It was $1.99. I think and I've seen them at Dollar Tree too, but this one came from just my local craft store. And it's so easy to just place that around the edge, just kind of stamp your wood into the side of the wood, into the ink pad, rub it, whatever you need to do to fill in any gaps. And it takes seconds compared to it took me like 5 minutes to do the outer portion of the first tag. Now I'm just taking a wet wipe here and I'm going around the edge. This is going to bring some of that ink over onto the top. You can see those ones on the right hand side compared to the one I'm doing now, how it brings that black ink over the edge and gives it a really nice finish. I decided that the back needed something too, so you could do this before you did the edge of the paper. It was just something that I went, well, now I've done the edge, the back needs to look a little nice too, because sometimes you see through a Christmas tree and you can see the back of an ornament and you want it to look nice too. This fun tool is called a Cropodile, C-R-O-P, Cropodile, and it was the most game-changing tool to my crafting career. I am not even kidding. Christmas is coming. It might be a fun thing to ask Santa for. I'll have a link for it down in my description box, but it can cut holes through metal and wood, thinner pieces of it, but it still works really well. Now I'm taking my twine and I folded it in half and I'm sticking the folded part through from the front to the back, and then I pull those little pieces, little tails through there to make a nice little loop. So I'll show you again what I do here. So I just get a longer piece of twine because I'm not exactly sure how long I want my tails so far. I fold it in half and you can see where that fold is there that I have. I'm just going to feed that from the front of my design to the back, and then it creates a loop, and I'm just going to pull those tails through. This is just going to make sure that when you hang your ornament, it's not going to go to the side. If you just put one piece through and tied it off, sometimes it doesn't hang correctly. I love this method because it really does give you that nice professional touch. And then I'm just going to loop the ends to tie them off there, and I just compare them to each other to make sure that the tassels are as long on each, like that it's equal length. And you can see here, I just do the exact same thing, and then I just kind of wrap it around my finger to tie a knot, and then I'm just cutting off the little tails for however long I want them to be. Now I thought it would be really fun to add some greenery to these, give them a little something extra. They're fine the way they are, so if you want to stop right there, go ahead and do that. But I'm just using a little bit of hot glue. These are just some little scraps that I have. Whenever I use picks and things or trim things down, I just have a little Ziploc baggie of little pieces, and I kind of keep them like in season. So all of my Christmas pieces are in a bag, all of my fall pieces are in a bag. So when I'm doing a little project like this, I'll just pull them out, because inevitably you may want like a berry here or there, or a little piece of greenery or a little sparkle. So that's where all of this is coming from. I do have some of this pipberry that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just feed that through. The way that we tied that little tassel on there, the twine, you can loosen it, and I just slipped that piece of pipberry underneath it. And then I'm just taking a pencil and I'll wrap it right around this to give it a nice corkscrew shape. You can even just have just a little piece. You don't have to corkscrew it, but I just thought that adds just a little bit more texture and whimsy and a little bit more visual interest to it. I then just make a finger bow, and I'll show you how I do that in just a moment, but this is just some red and green jute twine. You can see that package there. I picked this up at Walmart, and I love that you get the red and the green because it's something that you don't see all the time, and it's a very thin twine, perfect for little projects like this. And I just make that bow and I glue it on. So I'll show you here how, in just a second, how I actually made the finger bow in case you've never made one of those. But I'm loving how these turn out. I just think they're so cute. They would be a perfect project if you had a craft fair that you were trying to make some things for, if you had a lot of those little calendar squares, or you could even just go onto like the Graphics Fairy website. If you've never been to her website, it's amazing. She has a ton of free graphics to print out. Print out something if you don't have a lot of calendar pages. Use something that you have. Even some scrapbook papers might have some little pieces to cut out that you can use. So use your imagination, be resourceful, and you can make these for literally next to nothing. You just have to have, like I said, you can even make them out of cardboard. So just use your imagination. So you can see I'm just wrapping that twine around my finger about 4 times, and then I just pinch it in the middle. and it makes the most darling little loops on either side to make a cute little bow. And then I just want to tie it off in the middle. So I'm just grabbing another little piece of the red. You don't have to do the red and the green. Don't add too many strings because it's going to get too muddled up there for you. At least for me it does. I always seem to get things tangled up. So I just cut a piece of the red and I'm wrapping that around 2 or 3 times just to kind of tie that off. And then you just tie it into a knot on the back, and that's going to secure your loop right in the middle, making it look like you have the most darling tied bow there. You guys, I know I say the word darling a lot, but it's just one of those words in my vocabulary I say a lot. So just know that that's just who I am. But anyway, this bow ends up really beautiful and it's really cute. And you just kind of, depending on how many loops you did, you just fan it out. And I love that the red and the green together there really tie all of those colors in. They match really well with that black and white plaid paper. Now you can see how I did these two. I do the same thing, the exact same thing on that third one as well. I love that I did these in a collection. I feel like over your tree, if you have a few ornaments that match, I really feel that brings your look together rather than just having a one-off here and there, which is okay with some ornaments, but it really is fun to have a collection. I think these 3 look beautiful. Definitely getting those farmhouse feels and vibes from these, and you can see they really do look high-end. I think that they would be a beautiful addition to anyone's tree. You're going to have to let me know what you think of these. Do you like the idea of using the back of the calendar pages, or would you be someone who wants to go find your own graphics and make them a little more custom? Let me know down in the comments. Today's video is part of the 5 Under 5 DIY challenge. I host this challenge every single month. It is an open playlist, so if you are a creator or getting started, go over to Instagram, send me a message, and we'll get you set up in the chat to start participating in this if you would like. It's such a fun challenge. But every month on the 5th, we make 5 DIYs that cost less than $5, and we have a theme every month, and this month it is Christmas song inspired DIYs, and I'm doing Christmas song inspired ornaments. My guest host this month is Lisa from Lovin's the Life, and I'm so excited that she is guest hosting because she has the most amazing DIYs and you definitely need to check her out. Subscribe to her channel, tell her hi while you're there. But you guys, down in my description box and pinned in my comments is going to be a link to the playlist. When you click on that, it's going to take you all through the playlist so you can see all of the beautiful DIYs that so many different creators have made for you. They're all going to be $5 or less, and they're all going to be inspired by a Christmas song, which is so fun, I think. Let's get right back into the DIYs. If you see these wreaths of beads at Dollar Tree, pick them up. But Hobby Lobby, or any craft store probably, Target even, might have these beaded garlands that you can get. Now, I buy them when they're 50% off, so it is only $5. They are a bigger size and better quality than the ones from Dollar Tree. They have a smoother finish, but the ones from Dollar Tree are a great deal, so pick those up. I'm not going to leave this as a wreath. I'm going to take some pliers and I'm going to undo the little hook on this, and I'm going to use these beads separately. And that's mostly what I use these for when I pick them up from Dollar Tree, is just to have them for a wood bead stash, so that way I don't have to buy them in big bulks off Amazon, which you can easily do, but sometimes it's easier just to grab these and a heck of a lot cheaper. I'm making 3 beaded jingle bell ornaments and I want 5 beads on each one, so I just take 15 beads off of there and then I close that up and save it for another time, and it keeps them from going everywhere. So I'm taking my beads and I'm just putting them on a barbecue skewer that I have. I love using these for painting beads. There's so many different methods for painting beads, but for this particular project, this is the route that I am going. So I just string each of these on here. You can see there's painter's tape on one end, and I'll place some painter's tape on the other end. That's going to keep them from going off either end while I paint them. So I just took some red chalk paint and I added a little bit of antiquing wax to it just to kind of dull it down, make it a little bit more vintagey, aged looking, so that way I would get more of a richer tone. So if you ever want to do that with your paint, just add a little bit of antiquing wax to it, like the brown antiquing wax, and it's going to do that exact thing there. So I'm just going to paint these. You can see I just hold the skewer up. Once I get them painted on all of the outside, I lay them down flat and go in between all of the edges. And what's so fun about the skewer is once I've done that, I can turn it upside down the other way, and I can do the same process and make sure that you get in between each of those beads, and so they're completely covered. It doesn't take too long to do this, and this red with the antiquing wax was thick enough that I only needed to do 1 coat of paint. I have been using these jingle bells that I picked up at the craft store that are rusted jingle bells all throughout the season so far this year, and I have loved them. I know that you can also soak some in vinegar to rust them. You can do Mod Podge and cinnamon if you have plain jingle bells. I've been using them so much that it was worth it for me to purchase the whole tube of them, and I've loved having them. Now I just took some jute twine there and I just put a little bit of hot glue on the end, waited for it to dry a little bit, but I could still manipulate it. And I just kind of pressed it with my fingers to make a nice stiff edge to feed through the jingle bell. That way you don't have your twine fraying or anything on the end. Now I'm going to do the same thing with both of the ends together. Don't burn yourself when you do this. If you have to wear finger protectors, do that. But you just want to let it dry a little bit so it's not hot, but you can still like squish the glue and make a nice firm edge. You can also use painter's tape or even like a tapestry needle. You just want to make sure that you're able to feed it through your beads and your jingle bells. Now I'm just doing a little knot on the end there. You can see I'm just going to tie that off. I felt like it needed a little bit of separation between the bell and the beads. Now I saw these on Pinterest and when I was scrolling through one day, and I thought they were the most beautiful rustic like farmhouse looking design, and I thought they would be perfect to have hanging all over a tree. Now once you have your beads painted, these go so easy. I mean less than maybe 2 minutes to make. I mean, they're so quick and easy. And so if you were doing a craft show and wanted to sell these, you could make them very quickly. I mean, even have your kids help you string them up, or your business partner, or whoever, your husband, whatever you want to do. But honestly, you could make like a lot of these, and I really think that they're so cute, and people are going to want to buy more than just one because they're so fun to have all over your tree. So once I feed my jingle bells on there, or not my jingle bells at the bottom, but once I feed the beads on there, I tie that off at the top and then leave enough space on the twine that you can make your loop to hang it from your tree. So you can see I'm just feeding that through the jingle bell, just one there, and then I tie it off, and then I will feed through the beads. And I just do the same thing on all three of these. I thought it would just be fun to show you multiples so you could see kind of the effect they would have on a tree or all together. But it's just the same process, just feeding the beads on there, and then if you can tie a knot and you can string a bead, you can make these ornaments. But they end up so cute. And you see that I'm just making sure that all of my knots are tied so they're about the same length, so that way they look cohesive and they all look like they're part of a set there. And you can just see, I mean, look, aren't those so cute? Here's a look at the finished product. I don't have my tree up, so I'm just using some garland that I have that I'm hanging them from. But I just think these would be so cute hanging all over a tree. You can customize the beads to match your decor. So if you don't have like the traditional red color, or you have a different shade, you can do them in any color that you would like to. I want to know if you guys are a fan of these or not. I just thought they were so simple, but yet they made such a big impact. I'm excited to put them on my tree. For this project, I'm just starting out with some craft paper. You can pick this up at Dollar Tree. This time of year, you can find it in all of your gift wrapping. It's just regular brown packing paper, but you really can do it with any paper, and I end up doing it with a book page. So I'll show you exactly what I do. But I'm just cutting a strip, probably about 6 inches across. It just depends on how big you want your star to be. And really, these are like a star or a snowflake, you could call them. So I'm just gonna, for purposes, I'm gonna say that they're a star, but you're just gonna fold these in an accordion way. So I go down maybe like a 1/2 inch. What I end up doing is I end up getting a popsicle stick here. You can see like the craft stick, the thicker ones. That's what I use to make my folds uniform. And so I just fold that, and you can see I stick that in, make sure that I'm right to the edge of that craft stick. That way I'm getting nice straight folds. Because if you're anything like me, I start folding it and then I'm like way off on one side and almost like I'm folding on a diagonal. So it was really nice to have this kind of as a guide. But you could use a ruler if you're good and you're like, oh my gosh, girl, I got this. I can just fold it without anything. Like, I know how to fold paper. Then you can definitely do that. But you're just going to go across or fold down maybe like 15 times or so. You just want, I mean, it just depends on how many different folds you would like in your star. So I'm just going to keep folding until I get to the end of this paper. Once you're to the end of the paper, I'm just going to take a piece of twine and I'm going to tie this off in the middle. Now you can fold it first or you can tie it off first. It's not going to matter right here, but I'm just going to show you here that I'm just taking a little bit of twine and I'm just going to tie this. This is just, I don't know, I don't know that it has any purpose to it. I just tied it on there, but it really does just kind of add just a little visual interest into the center, and you can embellish these any way that you want to, but this is just helping so it doesn't like pop everywhere, because sometimes, you know, your paper might just open up and you're like, anyway. So I'm just showing you how I did this, and if you know an easier way or something, then go with that. Now I end up using some hot glue at this part, so you can see I'm folding it in half. But when I do my book page, I end up using the Elmer School Glue, which I like that a little bit better. To get the shape of your star, you just want to cut at an angle from one of the corners down. You can make it as dramatic as you want or as little as you want. But you're just going to want to glue your inside pieces together here. So you just folded that little teeny strip together. So the pieces you folded together, you just want to glue those. So you can see how I'm doing that. And I'm just going to press these together until that glue dries and it has a firm hold. And once that dries, you can start to open up your star here, and you can kind of fan it out. Now, as you can see, I had some of the hot glue pieces there that I was having to pick a little bit that seeped out. So that's why I kind of liked using the Elmer's glue. But you can see I'm just going to take those other ends once you fold that open here, or unfold it open, I guess it would be the correct way to say that. I'm just going to do the same thing and put a little bit of glue on this side and then glue it together so your star will be completely open and it will reveal the most beautiful folds in there. And I just think it makes the most darling little shape. I just take a hole punch and I'm just hole punching kind of where a couple of those folds are, and I'm just feeding through some twine on there and tying that off so I have something to hang this with. Now, as I was doing this, I thought it would be really fun to add something a little extra, so I just take a Dollar Tree wooden bead. You could do a couple, like a couple different sizes. I just feel that this adds a little something extra, so it's not just the twine and the paper. It makes it look a little bit more high end and maybe not so like school project-y. It just kind of looks fun. And I just think it adds a little something extra, which I felt like it needed. I followed the exact same process with a page out of an old book that I've been using for some projects. I did use my, not this kind of Elmer's glue to adhere it, but just the purple glue stick to get the edges to stick together. But I thought it would be really fun to put some of this type of school glue on here. And I am just running my finger along the edges of all of those folds. And I want to put some glitter and some sparkle on here. I really love the way that the sparkle and the book page looks. Now, if you wanted to age your book pages, soak them in some coffee or tea, or even use a little bit of antiquing wax or something, that would look very pretty and vintage also. But you can see I'm just sprinkling this glitter everywhere and making sure that I hit all of those high spaces that I put that glue on, and then I let that completely dry. Now, once I did this once and I lifted up the star and saw how beautiful it was, I decided that I wanted to put a little bit more on the edges. I am so pleased with how these came out. I think they look beautiful, and my favorite, I think, is the book page with a little bit of sparkle. I do love the brown one. It definitely has a simplicity to it. Would you do anything to embellish that further? If so, I would love to know what you would do to it. But I just think that a whole bunch of these all over a tree would make such a statement, and they're fun and they're easy to make, and they were very quick. You could have your kids or grandkids help you. I just think they turned out so beautiful. For this project, I'm taking some of my fencing wire that I have. This just came from our farm. I don't know what gauge it is or anything. I stole it out of my husband's truck, but I use it for a lot of projects. So I'm just cutting out 3 pieces of wire, probably about 7 inches long. And then on one end, I'm just going to curve it over because I'm going to thread some beads onto here. And so I don't want those beads falling off of the end. So I just took a little bit of water and some paint in some different containers here, and I just swirled some beads around to get some different colors. Now there's several different ways to paint beads, so it's whatever works best for you. But for this project, that's just the way I went. And I did an alternating size. I did some smaller beads in white, and I did the larger beads in red. And when I thread these on, I'm just going to do them every other one, kind of like a candy cane, but I'm making the most beautiful snowflakes. I just think that these would be so pretty all over a tree if you had a bunch of these. So I'm just going to thread each of these on. And I've seen other creators make these with string. So if you want to do that, you just have to do them really tight if you do that. But you can see I left a gap in the middle because we're going to glue these together and have a nice little center piece there. So I'm just gluing a little wooden disc. I just picked up a bag of those at my craft store. You could even cut it out of cardboard or something else you might have at home. And I just am using some hot glue to get those set down. Now I'm also making a second one with just natural color beads, and then I'll show you kind of how I finish off the center of those. So the same thing, I just take my strips of wire, and again, you can make these as long or as short as you would like to. So these are about 7-ish inches, I would say, that I cut these. And that gives me enough on each end. So they end up probably being closer to 6 inches just because I turned the ends down. And I'm just alternating the size of beads again, making sure that I leave about an inch gap in between those, so that way I can put the center piece. So you can see here I have like 3 larger ones and then the little smaller ones in between, and then just curve that end in there. These are just some jewelry making pliers that I have here that work really good for making round things. If you are curious about those at all, I just picked them up in the jewelry section. Any craft store is going to have them. JoAnns, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. And then this one, I'm just tying off with some string here rather than doing, I thought I would try this here and see if this works. So I just kind of go in between each one and all around to tie it to give it a little bit more stability. So hopefully you can see what I did there. And then I just took the wooden disc and put it on this one here. And then I thought it would be so cute to put a little jingle bell in the middle of this one. It just reminded me of like Let It Snow, like the snowflakes all over, and just kind of do different fun shapes of snowflakes. And I tied just a cute little bow on the top of there. That would be completely optional. And then you can either just set these into your tree, or you can tie some twine onto one of the ends to hang them from your tree. But as you can see, I just kind of placed mine in there, wrapped some of the branches around to hold them into place. But I think they're beautiful, and I think that they would be so fun, like I said, to have several of them, different sizes, different colors. And you can see on the white one, I put a sparkly little white jingle bell on there, which I think turned out so pretty. I would love to know your thoughts on these. Are you a fan of these? I just think a tree full of these in whatever your color scheme was, or that natural color, would be so stunning. A couple of years ago, I went to a yard sale that had a bunch of these. I'm assuming they're ornaments since they had a hang tag on them. They're quite large, but I picked a bunch of them up and I've used them here and there to make little signs or ornaments. But I thought it would be really fun to use this napkin. I saw this napkin and it has a beautiful Christmas tree with some packages, but it has a ladder next to it. And it totally reminded me of like the song Deck the Halls. And so I thought it was so cute. And so I picked it up so I could do it specifically for these, to do a little ornament out of. Now you can see that one napkin had 3 layers, so you just want to remove those back 2 layers very carefully, but you get 4 images out of one napkin. So you could definitely do some fun projects with just one napkin, or do multiple ornaments and have that cohesive look all throughout your tree. I just use a paintbrush with some water to go just kind of along the outside of that tree to make an outline. Because when you tear that out, as you can see here how I do this, it leaves a more natural edge. And when you're doing this decoupage process with the napkin, it really helps that napkin edge to fade into your background so you don't see that it's a separate piece. And so you can see here, I'm just going to get a little bit of water to go around. I got a little bit of paint on the napkin there, but it was okay. So I just put a little bit of water and ripped that part out there. So that way I've got an even closer shape to the tree, and I go around and just clean up all of the edges there. This is just a reminder that today's video is part of the 5 Under 5 playlist. When you click that link that's in my description box or pinned in my comments, it will take you right over to the playlist and play through all of the creators' beautiful videos of their Christmas song inspired DIYs that are each less than $5. Let's get right back into the DIYs. Now I'm just placing down some Mod Podge. I'm putting a very thin layer of that down here, and then I'm going to place the Christmas tree here. Now I've had a lot of you tell me about using Elmer's glue and water instead of Mod Podge, but I've actually read from a lot of different people that it yellows over time. So I would love to know if you're one of those people who have told me to try that hack. I'm kind of scared to, just because I've heard that it yellows, and over time, especially if you're going to sell items, I don't really want it to get damaged. So if you have noticed yellowing, how long did it take before that happened? Or is there a secret to not have that? So definitely let me know down in the comments, because I've had a lot of you tell me to try that. And so I just wanted to kind of get your feedback on that. But you can see I just go over that napkin with the Mod Podge to make sure that it has a nice coating over it to protect that napkin. And I'm just taking my sponge brush here and I'm going around the edge with just a little bit of red paint. I thought that would add kind of a fun farmhouse look to it. Now originally I was just going to put a little Mod Podge down here where the snow would be, and I was going to place a little bit of glitter. I love sparkle at Christmas time, not usually any other time, but at Christmas I love it here and there. And this year I've really embraced it with some of my projects, and I know it's not for everyone, so definitely it's just a step. If you like it, great, go for it. If you don't, you're not going to hurt my feelings that you don't like it. So I put it down. And when I lift this up, I kind of was like, oh, I really like the way that looks in the background. So I end up placing Mod Podge over the entire outline of the tree, all over the white, and placing it on here. Now, I don't know if I made a mistake doing this or not. So you're going to have to let me know if you like it. Maybe the ornament size was a little too big for the design, or I needed to add a little something else on there. I don't know, but definitely let me know down in the comments. And I do just want to say that if you ever, I've had a lot of you say like, hey, I think that you ruined this project doing this, or I don't like how you added that, or I would have done this differently. And honestly, I love that you guys are nice about it, but I love that you guys are thinking like creators, because that's what I'm here to do, is inspire you. And if you see something and you think, ooh, I don't really like how she did that, I would have done it this way, you're thinking like a creator. And I couldn't be happier if that's how you're thinking. That's what I'm here to inspire, is for you to think how you would create. Now here's this ornament. That sparkle is absolutely beautiful when the light dances off of it. This is a photo, so you don't quite get that movement. So you'll have to let me know if you like the glitter on this, if you would have done something different, maybe a border around the outside or something, maybe some greenery on there. I do kind of like the simplicity of it, but it's one of those that I'm not 100% sure I'm in love with it. So what would you do different with this one? Let me know down in the comments. This is making me so excited to put up my tree and use these ornaments. I just think they're going to be such a lovely addition to my tree. I think a couple of them, I might actually make a few more, so they're spaced a little more evenly all over my tree, like those jingle bell ones. I think I'm going to make a whole handful of those to go all over, because I just love that deep red that it brings in with those rusty bells. I just love that. You'll have to let me know which of these you would be most likely to create to put on your tree. Are you someone that decorates your tree in traditional colors, or do you do something more that fits your home? I grew up in a house that had like a mauve and navy blue tree, so we did not have red or green. Maybe in like our family room, like our kids' family room area, we did when I was really little. But for the most part, I grew up like a pink and blue tree. So I really stick with the Christmas colors because I love them, and I didn't really have them a lot, but I do really appreciate the beauty that comes with all of the different ways people decorate their trees and all of the different colors that they use, that it doesn't matter the color scheme. I feel like they always just look beautiful. And I love that we can all be so excited to share our tree and our decor with everybody. And I love that we get so excited about this season of Jesus and giving and happiness, and that we're just so excited to share it with everybody. Remember to check out that playlist link down in my description box. I'll see you next time, guys. Happy crafting! If you liked the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.